Bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone.
Bienvenue à notre réunion régulière.
Welcome to our regular meeting of
du 7 juillet,
July 7th,
début du festival du homard.
beginning of the Lobster Festival.
Je commence toujours avec
I always start by
naissance du
saying
territoire.
we gather on the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people, whose ancestors signed a treaty of peace and friendship with the British Crown in the 1700s. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum. There is one councillor who is absent. It was for a health reason. But we do have quorum. Any council members who would like to declare conflict of interest on any items on the agenda? Seeing none, so thank you. Adoption of the agenda. So I would like to mention, as sent by email by our clerk this afternoon, there was one item to add. It was an agreement for LRL properties for 15.6. So we need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Sylvie Colette-Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. All in favor, signify saying aye. Against, nay. Motion carried. We have no minutes to adopt this evening. It will be. We will have a few sets of minutes to adopt in August. So Mr. Clerk told us a lot. So now, item 6, public presentation. So we have a request for our citizen Jacques Laforêt. You would like to address us. You have about 5 minutes. Dear Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm a bit confused with a situation. Let's say the deputy mayor, Mrs. Colette Boudreau. She's been a councillor for 13 years, and those 13 years, every time myself, I would bring a file from one of our companies. Andre, the same with his companies. She always withdrawn and declare a conflict of interest. And in my opinion, there was no reason to do it because there was no benefits for her, one way or the other, or to family or anyone. So to withdraw. So the act is up to the council. The council member has to declare his or her own conflict. So that's why sometimes we had discussion. I said why, and she did not feel comfortable. And I did not understand why, because there's one file. There's a file that happened recently, and the councillor not only was part of the discussion, was part of the vote. He seconded a grant for Pointe du Chêne for the work for $250,000. But at the same time, he started a company was selling advertising for the Pointe du Chêne. Mr. Laforêt, well, if you want to know why a member decide to take one action or another, and it's conflict of interest, is not up to the council process. It's the Local Governance Act is a section of conflict of interest. I think it's 89 to 92 for those articles. And if we want to send a notification of this or file a complaint, it's something you have to address with the RCMP, not with us. The council cannot deal with the conflict of interest issue. So is it RCMP media? So I'm surprised that the media doesn't look at this, because I think it's just a question the council cannot deal with for allegation of conflict of interest. It's RCMP, and eventually it will be the court system. So what are the repercussions of a conflict of interest? So it's in the act, you can see the consequences there. So thank you. Good evening.
No. Prochain point, lecture de
Next item, correspondence. We had none for this evening,
Mais on avait le rapport
but we had the report
des
from
services d'incendie.
the fire department. It was simply like the same report we receive every time, every month, like when the fire chief has the chance to do it at the end of the month. So we have the numbers for June. And so then you can ask question when you'll be there at the next meeting. 8.2, like the mayor's report. Well, I simply wanted to mention verbally, like since our last meeting, I did a short report. I had the chance like to attend the Atlantic Mayor's Congress. So it was mid-June. It was during my daughter's graduation. So I was able like to attend part of this or most of it. At the time, there was an author like published a book, The Uncivil Society, and he's talking about the harassment of elected officials, harassment in the municipal world, the harassment of for the staff, and it was interesting to see. Like even we were only like municipalities in Atlantic provinces. There is no like mega police here in our region, but Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver, like we're not there. But it was incredible, like in terms of how the municipalities, like it's part of their daily lives, regardless of the size of the municipality. It could be like a smaller, bigger than us, or even smaller than us. There's a book on it, so I even bought it, like, and it's really interesting, like something I wanted to mention. And there were also some Envision St. John reports, equivalent of the economic development here at the Regional Service Commission. So they gave like a name. It's a kind of a cute name. And we also had the chance to visit the city of St. John. They have electric buses, mini buses. You can maybe put about a dozen, 15 people. Really interesting. So they use it. So they already had like a bus, regular bus service, but they use those mini bus in regions when there are less demand. It's on purpose. We do not serve them like with our regular buses, but they can serve those regions with the small buses. So they can the ridership increase. So if you put the offer, as long as you can, where there is a demand, so it can make it can offer a better service. We're not there yet, but we're going towards like a micro transit service in the region. So we're hoping it will be a first step, like for public transportation. That was it for me. I don't know if there were other council members who had the report like to present. Councillor Roland Cormier, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, I'm also part of the Community Garden Committee. The Community Garden is it was launched again this year. It was maybe a month ago. Centraide United Way came to give a day of their time. 150 volunteers were present, and they work a lot, like in the community garden. And they even built some boxes, like at the Providence apartment, and also some boxes to grow like vegetables. And they also there's in Kapakadi, they're building boxes there too. They were supposed to do at Oli Oli, so I'm not sure if they did it or not. It went well. Like I told you, it was 150 volunteers, so the group is full of energy. And there are some sessions about every 2-3 days. So if you want to go on their site, they have some learning sessions to how to garden, how to bake salsa, to do all kinds of things. I will not name all those workers because I only have 5 minutes, but I encourage to consult their site. It's for all the residents of this community garden participant, but if someone is not sure how they garden, but you do have some experts who are available for them. So I think it's good for our municipality, and I would encourage the council members, if they are listening to us, maybe to encourage them, because they are dedicated to the community garden cause. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. Any other council members who would like? Maybe less thing to say, but except for the Lobster Festival, it's full swing. It's swimming. Councillor Patricia, thank you, Miss. I just wanted to say something like for the Lobster Festival. So we started with the launch on Saturday morning. It went really well. So we had a new activity. Some councillors participated, and I think they found it was a good activity during noon hour. We were Germaine served some plates, and so the festival will continue for the rest of the week. So we have up to Sunday. So I invite you to participate. If ever you can give your time, come and see us. We'll find a place for you here and there. So I wish you a great festival. So we're hoping Mother Nature will be with us. No one else? So Mr. CEO. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to I will not repeat the festival was started, but it was done. But when the festival arrives, it announced the beginning of the summer here in Shediac, and our employees, so they're working in our outdoors, ground trails, parks within the municipality. And I can tell you that in the tourist tracking, we're seeing an increase in the number of tourists, about 3% in May, 8% in June. So it's looking good for July and August. And we are working hard to welcome many tourists, and also to ensure our citizens can have access to our different activities and installations that we are maintaining. You might have noticed if you visit our website, we had our facelift for our website. Our website was on just before Canada Day. We wanted to do it like a soft launch, because we wanted to ensure we were able to see if there are any bugs that we were not able to solve. Essentially, we have a new website, and the website is live. So you might have noticed on social media, there's a new page. It's called Shediac Plus. So it's an effort to better communicate the activities happening in Shediac with our citizens. So we created a page called Shediac Plus. So I encourage to consult it on a regular basis, visit our website, and let us know if something's not working. But for Shediac Plus, is to inform you what's happening in the municipality, to talk with the citizens, to let them know. We'll be sharing a lot of information to see what's happening in terms of activities for our citizens. As for municipal operations, I don't want to do I will not do a follow-up on the different projects, but mainly I will be talking about the next projects being developed. The Trempe line sewer, essentially, it's still in the design process, and we are hoping to start the tenders soon during the summer season, so that work can start this year and conclude next year. So as for the human resources, well, with the departure for engineering director. So we started a selection process to identify like the possible applicants. So the position is currently open. So encourage if you know any individuals who might be a good fit for the role, to direct them like to our website to get more information, and also like to apply if they are good candidates. We already met with a few possible candidates that were identified to see what would be their interests. We already got some interest from, they might be interesting, so the more the merrier. So we want to have enough choice, like that would be the best. As for the strategic planning, we adopted like strategic planning in April, but with the departure of a few employees, well, we do not want to lose the momentum we have with strategic planning. But I can tell you, like the employees focus on to reach the goals of in the strategic plan. This is a tool we use on a regular basis, and we encourage to use this internally, just to make sure like the files can come to fruition. Later, we'll be talking about the recreation center. A couple of small follow-ups. First, it's for the unpaid water bill. So we send the second and third notice to residents who did not communicate with us, so they can make arrangements. And following this, well, we'll see. We'll look at the tools available to us to see how we can collect them. It might even go to the interruption of the water service. And I can tell you, like third and the last notice was sent, and we're hoping by mid-July to get an answer from everyone. In the sense, we'll take action beginning of August according to the powers we have. And the last one is only for our unionized employees. So next year, so the collective agreements will come to an end at July next year. So we approach like the union local to see if they would be interested to start to bargain like sooner than later, because when the last contract was signed, it did not like was supposed to have an election in May 2026. So I think the deadline is the end of June, beginning of July 2026. We would like, with the election orientation and all the changes that could possibly happen around the council's table, to see if we would be able to get to an agreement and to start bargaining sooner than later. So we send a correspondence and might be an interest, and we did not get any specific answer so far, but it might help us in a budget planification for next year if something happens sooner. So this would conclude my report. Thank you very much. And council members have question. Patricio Bourque-Varga just had a question for Shediac Plus and Shediac Experience. So Shediac Experience, so we do not put all our activities in Community Life. So I will let like the communication director like to answer. In fact, so Shediac Experience was really created for everything that was touristic. So that's what we want to do like all year round. So Shediac Experience will be used to maybe promote like Lobster Festival, but not like each activity. So it's similar like to Community Life. A lot of activities like they were lost like in the Shediac Experience. We're trying to sell Shediac Experience like through and sell Shediac through Shediac Experience. So it's like a branding. It's like a slogan for tourism, and that's what we're trying to separate like over the next couple of years, because since our campaigns are more and more on social media, YouTube, or location like this, so Shediac Experience is always targeted. So we kind of created like a Shediac Plus to promote like all the activities, and also to give a link to all the association in town. Councillor Comey was mentioning the community garden, so it's exactly like that would be the location to promote some events, a registration like to pickleballs or other activities or associations. So that's a difference we're trying to make. So the activities we had au Pascal Poirier Park, like au début Shediac Plus, imagine a tourist, I go to Shediac, so do I go to Shediac Plus or Shediac Experience? Or it's mostly like all the activities we had in community life, and often the focus to the citizens, young children, families, and often through Shediac Experience, they kind of get lost. And Shediac Plus also like consider this. But I can say, though, regardless of the platform, we're trying to maximize as much as possible, like all the eyes that will be on social media. So some things will be on the 3 platforms, some will be on 1 only. It depends on the activities. So I'm okay with Shediac Plus. I'm just wondering, like as a tourist, like if we only want to see like experience Shediac, to find what a tourist is looking for, but if you have a workshop on gardening, and a tourist will not go there, like it will be people from the community, like Lobster Festival. I will go like on the Lobster website. I might not necessarily go, like we have some shows like at the park, or we have something at the Rotary Park on July 1st. If Shediac Plus, and the opposite is true, like if we're talking about Shediac Experience, so maybe something should be included in many places. That's what we're trying to do with Julie, Melody, and the members of from Julie's team. So we're really working together, and that's what's great. And the opposite is true, like when you're trying to sell Shediac, trying to get people from Ontario to come and see us, well, some things will work better than others, but to discover like lobster and the activities we have in the during the Lobster Festival, but not necessarily like to attract them here with a pickleball tournament or things like that. So that's a bad example, I know, but we're trying to diversify and use like all the platforms we have the best we can. Maybe to put on the tool like for our bicycle trails, and to have a good balance. And of course, you're all welcome like to send your information, everything you notice, because we can work together. So it works both ways, and we're trying to do the best we can. Like the team worked really well and works really hard. So we're with the people's input, it can improve some situations. So I invite you to do so.
Merci.
Thank you. Councillor Peterborough, questions on the CA report concerning like the unpaid water bill. So the people, those who are going to, if you're just shutting off the service, do we have to reconnect them like for winter? For winter? It's always a risk. We can be, yes. But the law doesn't say we have to connect them back before winter. Councillor Roland Cormier. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for water bill. So I presume like the next meeting, like on, so they will bring us like a report, like maybe the month of August thing to give you maybe like a report, a more elaborate report, so see where we're at. And I can tell you, like we settled a few of them. With the third notice, I started to get some calls like from water bills that are more serious, if I can use that term, because of concern, like they got 3 letters, like in maybe within 3-4 months, and then our language becomes more and more like serious with the letters. So we're getting some calls, and we're ready like to make arrangements. and we're ready to work with individuals. So we understand like some might be difficult situations and maybe some citizens are living through. Well, we're trying to be as flexible as they want to be flexible with us, but always a goal like to bring the debt back to zero and eliminate like that debt.
C'est bien.
Thank you.
Prochain point, ben, on n'avait pas de
Next item, we did not have a recommendation for the Regional Service Commission and nothing for business and new business. So this is a July meeting. Information request for council members. Any questions or items that were not on the agenda? Councillor Peter Roy. Thank you. Two items, like one item that's coming again. It's a sign. So are we making progress?
Ça a avancé jusqu'au point que là, on a...
When the midterm program don't get an answer like from people who are supposed like to do the installation, so that's where like it seems to stick. So we're looking at other possible avenues like to go with maybe with another company. So maybe last week like I wasn't here and I tried before I left like I will and I'm trying to solve it once again today. I'm still waiting to hear back and I already contacted another company, might be able to help us like quickly and start on that project as soon as possible. So for now, we're still waiting to hear back from news. We're trying to lobby as much as possible. So all the signs, so the signs haven't been printed yet, and they're not ready to be installed. But there's still like there's a company in the region like they are working on this site. So I did not hear it, and I approached another company, and then they would be ready to work like at this level, so we can have this done as soon as possible. So I will keep you posted by email probably as soon as I have a little bit more information. Second one, well, the firefighter, the fire station. So where are we? So now, like, so the file is so we're meeting like all like the deadlines. But I don't want to say a date, but we're thinking maybe September for the official opening to celebrate this. But there's no delays. Everything goes as planned. That's it. Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have 3 this evening. So the first one, there is a citizen that came to give a presentation to the last council meeting with the taxi service, with 5 managers for bar managers like in the Shediac region. Like I presume that's true, like what they told us. So is there like a bylaw, Mr. Mayor, in the town of Shediac that exists for a taxi service, or we have none? Absolutely. So we have a bylaw to offer the service, to give permits to the drivers, etc. But within the bylaw, there's no operation hours like specific to the bylaw. So in the past, well, it was a service, wasn't a problem, but today, like it became an issue. So what we're trying to do is to work with different companies to find a solution and trying like to inform them and things that was shared with us. So I think we have 3 taxi companies like in town. If we can find a way so the 3 companies can collaborate together to have some kind of coverage like during a certain period of time, especially like during the summer season. So we are having discussions with different companies to see if they could offer that coverage. So if they can offer this coverage, we might look at other avenues if the council would like to offer some kind of service to the citizens, like through a bylaw. Will we try like to have a discussion with those 3 taxi owners sooner than later? So I'm hoping we can solve that problem. I wasn't aware, but But really, if some business owners are paying taxes to the municipality to sell and alcohol, and we have no taxi service, it's not easy. I mean, the only thing I would add, Councillor Cormier, I look at the municipal bylaw for Moncton, Dieppe, Riverview. I know they have taxi services, but it's not mentioned like the working hours. But it would be a possibility that we could be looking at. If
it's a need, we can work with the companies to try to find solutions. I was made aware of, many of my colleagues were made aware of a complaint by a citizen from Scodoc. They placed a complaint. I won't talk about the complaint. Mr. CAO is aware of the complaint. It's 360 will be managing it or trying to manage it. It was filed May 22nd. I hope that from here to September, we can see if there is any issues or no issues. Maybe there aren't any issues, but I think that the citizen should be answered in one way or another, if whether or not it's an issue or not. Maybe we can comment on that, Mr. CEO, Mr. Clerk. We had discussions between Plan 360 and the town. So during the discussions, what we're trying to check is the complaints received, what is in effect in terms of regulations for that rural plan, for that region. Can that complaint be received or not? First of all, what I can say right away is that it looks like we can't receive the complaint. There was not really an infraction per se, but we are still assessing the file. It is a complaint dating back to May, but actually there were complaints dating back to 2023. So it is a file that came out of the woodwork again. So we're just trying to be sure of all things before we communicate with the citizen. If I might add to this, the nature of the complaint can become complicated. If it's an use that is not allowable, the inspector will make a visit, and the problem is resolved or it's in compliance. It's a game of compliance and non-compliance. One day compliant, one day non-compliant, the other. It sometimes becomes hard to issue infractions and the tools that the Plan 360 has at its disposal. I was only made aware about the June 2nd. If I'd known before, I would have raised it before. But it's important that we be transparent with the resident. And if there are no problems, there's no problem. If there's a problem, there's a problem. And what will happen will happen. That's what's important. We mostly want to be important of the information before communicating with that citizen. And Your Worship, traditionally, now that we've been copied on concern and a complaint by a resident, when will staff will be replying to the citizen? Will we be copied on that? Is it the standard, not standard? We don't know if it's settled or not. Normally, the standard is there correspondence that is sent that we have to answer. We will answer or reply to all, if you'll allow that word. If the correspondence was sent to yourself as counsel, all correspondence that is sent to staff, that we answered. Great, thank you. Third question. Once again, do we have a report on what our bylaw officer is doing in the municipality? We've been asking this for several months. It's supposed to be coming. Mr. Clerk, yes, we looked and we're gathering information. I think by August 18th, we have something for you. However, another aspect that we are studying, the better tools to be able to do that. So we've had meetings lately. The software that we've been using for many years, it feels rather archaic. It's very old. It's very hard to use. Doing searches within it and it's hard to do follow-up as well. We're trying to find a new solution that would allow all employees to do some relatively easy follow-up and to extract information so that we can produce a report that is much more easy to manage. Thank you, Your Worship. If I might add, the program that the clerk is speaking about right now, a citizen calls, we take the call, we transfer them to such and such an employee. There's no central tracking for all of our files and where the status of them. And in terms of complaints, when it relates to animals or bylaws, it's important to be able to follow up on a file and follow where it's at. The system that we're using now needs a reboot, if you don't mind the expression. We're looking at alternatives to do better follow-up, not just follow-ups for files. In terms of enforcement, be it around animals or let's say complaints related to bylaw enforcement. It's for all files. Often a resident will call, and I've called twice, and I don't know that there's some files that we might lose between the cracks between the employees who were there before and who are no longer here. We do our best to collect them all, but some might fall through the cracks. If we have a central program that allows us to better manage our files and complaints, to have a tool that can support all of staff, that's something that we're foreseeing in terms of what we're looking for right now. Thank you very much. Councillor McEnroy.
I'd like to make a request that the Shediac General Fund 5-year capital budget, which was approved by council, be made available to the public. I have before me documentation that the town of Riverviews is available online. And I haven't done a lot of research, and it's not my job to do that, but sometimes I do want to be a little bit informed when I come and ask for something. Largely what I've concluded from what I've read is that even though the operational or the plan is developed internally, it's not really considered an internal document. One of the quotes is that the plan should be transparent and accessible to the public, promoting accountability in municipal spending. And I really believe that. I don't see any reason why, once we've approved that document, it simply sets out our proposed plan of implementing capital projects over the next 5 years. In our case, it went to 9. But, there's no reason why the public shouldn't know, and there's every reason why they should know what we're doing. I mean, I think we probably refer to the word transparent in several of our plans and our objectives and our goals and ideals and so on. And the last thing we want to do is say, we're not going to share this document with the public. And for what reason? I know it is an internal tool, but there's no reason why it shouldn't be made public. And basically, that's just what I want to do now, is make that request that be done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can tell you it's 100% our intent to make that document public once it's adopted by council. It's currently not adopted by council. We're currently working on a draft. We presented a draft to council at a working session a few weeks ago. We still have to look at the fiscal capacity of the municipality to see if we can afford everything that's on that list at the right moment. So that's the next step that we are working on. But I agree 100%. We want to be open and transparent so residents know, kind of where they may fall on a list. And, once you adopt the budget, if an item is missing, well, it's council and staff's responsibility to advise residents that these are the projects moving forward next year. And if one project isn't retained, although the plan says, well, it's the municipality's responsibility to communicate why it was not. It could be another project came on board. It could be, a different priority that was decided by council. But, I agree with you 100%. It's a document that should be made to the public.
Can we,
transparency reasons once it's adopted. 100%.
Can we estimate as to when that may occur?
Well, the plan that was presented to council was currently we're looking at the fiscal capacity of the municipality on the plan that we're working on. We're still waiting on finalization on the asset management plan. That was a big component that needs to feed it. We feel, I don't want to say pretty confident, but we're a lot of the information that was from there was put in that document. We obviously are looking for council to provide feedback on the plan, but our goal is to have that adopted during the budget 2026 budget deliberation process. So we know once that's adopted, then we can put the mechanisms in place for the budget for 2026. So we're looking at early fall, okay. Fall to adopt it in front of council.
Great. Thanks very much.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you. Councillor Paul Boudreau.
Councillor Paul Boudreau. Just a few items here on the taxis. Thank you, Roland, for speaking about that. The town had invested some amounts of money on various projects. A follow-up on Saint-Joseph Street, we bought a plot. There was a notion of buying a complex for veterans. Is it moving? The municipal lot was bought. In terms of the other party, that's a local, regional group. I don't think it started yet. Is there an agreement that they had to do development? I thought there was an agreement. No. The other is similar. It's on Bro Bridge and Chesley. I saw that there are two complexes that were built. We invested to help them build. The third one is not erected yet. Are there restrictions on the grant? Not the grant, but the grant for those buildings, pumps or something. Isn't there a condition? Yeah, there will only get the incentives for the third building once it's up. That's great. That's what I want to know. We spoke about tourists earlier. I go on the cycle trail every day. I'll speak to Julia on this point. In terms of signage, I'm acting as an ambassador. People feel a bit lost. They come to a crossroad and they don't know how to get there. Is there a strategy coming? It's very popular in the daytime, weekends. They stop at certain street corners and they don't know how to get various places. Is there something foreseen for that? The strategy was more developed this year, but we have a lack of staff. So it will move forward, but as fast as we can do it. There will be some signage that will be placed this year. However, to really direct people to the right places, the blue line, the red line, for example, that will be coming next year in next year's budget. The intention of the former director, their task shouldn't be directing people from one place to the next. It just puts Pointe-du-Chien to downtown, etc. I'll just leave that between your hands. Thank you. That's all. Thank you. So number 14, presentation and readings of bylaws. 14.1, building bylaw 25-46. Where do we have the background for that one? I win. Well, it's a bylaw. It dates back to May. We did first and second reading. It's basically an update. The laws were updated in the past few years. Our bylaw went back to 2014. It had to be modified. So basically, the bylaw is essentially the same as it was in 2014. But it does mention at the start, it's basically it's related to the laws, the 2020 Building Code, the Planning Act of 2017, Local Governance 2017. The chapters are mentioned. Those are the laws that have to be modified so that our construction bylaw is being in compliance with the law right now. So we will refer to the right document. Yes, that's exactly it. Madam Deputy Mayor, would you like to read it? 14.1, Building Bylaw number 25-46, the third reading. Be it resolved that the bylaw entitled number 25-46, a building bylaw in the town of Shediac, be read a third time by way of summary instead of its entirety as permitted by section 15(3) of the Local Governance Act. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Any questions? Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. When a person breaks down their patio and they want to rebuild, do you need a permit? Do you need a permit if you demolish your patio and if you demolish it to rebuild it? Yes, you do. If it's rotten and you want to make another one, technically, each time you erect a structure on your property, you have to consult Plan 360 to see what are the implications. They will tell you what the necessary documents, what you need to have. We always recommend that people go to Plan 360 first, and they'll tell you if it's required or not. But normally, when you build a new structure, yes, you need a permit to explain that you're in compliance. It's built based on the building code requirements. This will refer to the right code and the right law because they've been changed. Councillor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. A question for clarification. Is this the bylaw that we're talking about? I'm not finding it. That's why I'm asking the question. And before I vote, is it here that we speak about allowing an extension on a building within the downtown? No. That's 14.4. Thank you. So, moved and seconded. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Mr. Clerk, it's the time to count. It's building bylaw by virtue of the law authority LMB 2020 chapter 8, the law on city planning LMB 2017 chapter 19, and the law on local governance LMB 2017 chapter 18. Municipal Council of the Town of Shediac shall adopt as follows. Bylaw aims to frame all of the activities related to construction, demolition, modification, or replacement of buildings on the territory of the town of Shediac. It sets out getting a building permit before doing such work, subject to the penalty. That permit must be asked in writing, accomplished by a demolished plan and a drainage plan in some cases, in addition to other technical requirements. It formally adopts the building code for Canada and the National Energy Code. It applies to all projects. The building inspector is tasked with analyzing the issuance of permits from and can choose to suspend a permit if standards are not allowed. It can be during work, the holder of the permit must display the permit and the approved plans on the work site and inform the inspector in the various steps of the project. Even if a permit is granted, that does not free the builder of his responsibility to be in compliance to the regulations, and rights are required or fees are required to related to the permit. Fees vary according to the nature of the project. The bylaw sets out the obligation of the inspector to hold updated the registers for permits. The bylaw is in effect after its final adaptation and replaces the previous 2014-46. Madam Deputy Mayor. Thank you that we accept the third reading of bylaw 20-46 in its summary form. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette-Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland.
Question?
Any questions?
Sinon, tous en faveur, en diront oui.
Otherwise, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried.
Numéro 14.2.
Number 14.2. Bylaw Z14-14 that 44-62Z and Plan P143613P. That's related to the new school.
Monsieur le greffier.
Mr. Clerk,
Petit sommaire.
your little summary.
Petit sommaire, ben, en fait,
A little summary,
yes.
yes.
Je peux vous mentionner quand même une
I might mention
modification,
one
c'est vraiment
modification.
dans le
It is
62Z en tant que
in the
tel,
62Z and related to the conditions. The conditions, the bylaw is the same. There have been no changes except there. If you look at page, the resolution based on Article 59, Clause A was modified. It's the only thing that was modified in the bylaw per se. I think that everyone is able to read it. And so there's another motion that will be required during the reading that mentions it's according to the Planning Act, the Community Planning Act. So that resolution has to be read. So we will read it a little later after the third reading, of course.
Merci.
Thank you.
Ici, il y a 5 motions.
So there are 5 motions to be adopted here.
Donc,
So,
Conseil Joël Després, tu veux
Councillor Joël Dupré, would you like to read it? Yes, Your Worship. 14.2, bylaw Z-14-44-62Z and P-14-36-13P. Be it resolved that the bylaw Z-14-44-62Z, a bylaw amending the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, be read a third time by its title and its entirety.
proposé par le Conseil Joël Després.
Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Any questions?
Sinon, tous en faveur.
Otherwise, all those in favor shall say aye.
Contre, non.
Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried. Mr. Clerk, bylaw Z-14-44-62Z, modifying the zoning bylaw Town of Shediac by virtue of the powers conferred upon it by the zoning bylaw Z-14-44 dictated on 21 April 2014 and filed in the Westmoreland Planning Office under 3369 73 23 May 2014 is modified as follows. 1. Annex A entitled zoning map and town of and mentioned in the zoning is modified by the map attached. That we accept the third reading of bylaw Z-14-44-62Z by its title in its entirety.
Proposé par le Conseil
Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin.
faveur, en diront oui.
All those in favor shall say aye.
Non.
Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Conseil Després.
Councillor Després. Whereas Town of Shediac has accepted the request to change the zoning bylaw on the part of the Minister of Transportation Infrastructure to modify PID 7018-523 in the Town of Shediac from general commercial zone to high-density residential R3 to institutional services in order to allow a new school. Be it resolved that the following conditions apply to bylaw Z-14-44-62Z. The following conditions apply to bylaw Z-14-44-62Z. Notwithstanding all other provisions to the contrary, the lands, buildings, and structures on the above-mentioned property are subject to the following terms and conditions. That a servicing agreement be completed prior to the issuance of a building permit between the Town of Shediac and the owner of PID 707-18523 regarding streets, potable water, and stormwater, and that the agreement shall stipulate that the building shall not be occupied until the sanitary trunk sewer line, as outlined in the sewer trunk pre-design study and report prepared by Anglo for the Greater Shediac Sewerage Commission on May 15, 2023, is fully completed and operational.
Proposé par le Conseil Joël
Moved by Councillor
Després.
Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. I was about to flip around your names, your first names.
Question.
Any questions?
Otherwise,
Otherwise, all those in favor shall say aye.
contre, non.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried.
Desbré.
Councillor Desprez, be it resolved that the bylaw modifying be read the third time by title and in full.
Desbré.
Moved by Councillor Joël Desprez, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Berthet. All those in favor shall say aye.
Contre, non.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried. Mr. Clerk.
Arrêté numéro
Bylaw P-14-36-13P, bylaw modifying the municipal plan of Shediac, number P-14-36. In virtue of the power conferred upon it by the laws of city council planning, the P-14-36P set out in 2014 in the registration office in Westmoreland under May 23rd, 2014 is modified as follows. The map entitled the use of soil is modified as based on the May 7, 2025 connected in Annex 813 by modifying the designation of the property with PID 70714832 to infrastructure services. As you see in the schedule, that we accept the third reading of P-14-44-36P by its title in entirety. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Desprez, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. All in favor shall say aye.
Contre, non.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Adopté. Merci
Motion
beaucoup.
carried. Thank you very much.
La dernière chose pour.
Last thing
Ben,
for the new school. For the new school.
Il en reste deux autres.
There are two more.
14.3.
Number 14.3.
25.
Bylaw number 2518. Dog control.
Il veut faire la.
Ah, OK.
Who would like to?
Vous pouvez flipper un scène.
You can flip a quarter for it.
Vous vous souviendrez bien sûr qu'à la-
You'll remember that at the end of 2024, we presented a bylaw to modify the dog control bylaw, the animal control bylaw that dates back to 2010. Over the past few months, we did some work to try to clarify that bylaw. So we consulted a great many other municipalities to see what's in effect here around us. We worked closely with our animal control officer, Bill Grimmer. He is here in the room tonight to try to find a new form for that bylaw that would apply well to our region throughout the territory as well, because that new bylaw would be in effect through the greater Shediac area. So there were many things that were assessed. At the start, I will mention it, we removed the limits on dogs that is set in the municipal bylaws, because a lot of municipalities do it. But in discussions with the NBSPCA throughout the province, and Mr. Grimmer as well, just to sort of foresee any sort of puppy mill to sort of prevent their arrival, we're trying to set certain limits related to the number of dogs. So we're setting a limit of 3, but it's a bit, how can I put it? We're using the term grandfathering. People who have more than 3 dogs now that are registered can, of course, keep them. They can keep more than 3 dogs, but once a dog dies, they cannot get a 4th dog. That's how it would proceed. So there are many modifications upcoming. So in discussions with NBSPCA, one of the problems we faced for many years was the management of tags. Where people sign up, etc. And within that framework, there's a company that uses DocuPet that works with NBSPA. The project will be available in many municipalities soon. We're in negotiations with them to set that. So now people can register a dog. They can do it online. They can give a proof of vaccination. register their dog, whatever date or whatever time of year, and it would be from June to June, for example, if you register in June. And each year there'd be a notice, well, you have to renew your dog. The vaccinations have to be updated. So really, at that level, I think it's going to be very efficient. And there's already municipalities using it, and it's working very well. So in terms of modifications beyond that, we removed any mentions to reptiles and cats. What we're trying to set here right now is full dog control and assure safety of people, make sure that dogs are vaccinated. This is what we're trying to impose here. So these are basically the details I can provide. There's a few words, that when we did some Facebook calls, call outs on Facebook, many citizens were concerned by that. It's a bit weak, actually, and as a way of explaining it. We're trying to arrive at something that's more, let's not say, maybe not humane, but maybe that's not the right word, but that makes more sense. I think that we accomplished that, actually. I don't know if you have any questions, but we're open to answering those questions if you have any. Mr. CAO, do you have anything to add?
Mr. CEO,
Great.
do you have anything to add? To start the, I need a motion on the table, just questions.
Sure. Go ahead.
Be it resolved that a bylaw entitled Bylaw number 25-18, a bylaw relating to dog control can be authorized and that this bylaw be given first by reading it by its title.
Moved by Councillor Steves, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. Questions? I have several. Conseiller Paul.
Juste une question.
Councillor Paul, just a quick question. Bravo with all those involved. Why do we the first and second reading this evening? By law, we cannot do like the 3 readings the same evening. It's impossible. So we can do 2 readings or 1 reading or one, and then the second 2 readings in the following meeting. However, there are some options we have on the table. So we had some requests. So we can proceed quite quickly because we're open to have maybe a special meeting within the next week to do a 3rd reading. So that would be a possibility. So thank you. If not, the Act does not allow to do the 3 readings when this either one the first evening you do 2 readings and the following one reading or vice versa. Councillor Steves.
Or maybe even comments. Just looking through
Switch
some, I agree with a lot of it for in town or more densely populated areas. I feel like it's not a one size fits all thing, especially thinking more Skidrow and Shediac Cape area, where you could even have farmland or stuff like that. I don't know that a limit of 3 dogs or the fact that they have to be tied up or within a fenced area with somebody that could have multiple acres of land really makes sense to me anyways.
Comment? Monsieur DG?
If I can just add, and Sylvain, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the proposed bylaw is very similar than what other municipalities are adopting, including their newly incorporated areas. We have consulted with NBSPCA, we have consulted with our bylaw enforcement officer, and I understand that there's no one size fits all, but I think it's better than the absence of none. And currently, there are no bylaws regulating the vaccination of dogs, and in those territories, that is a requirement of the Local Governance Act and us setting a schedule. So this bylaw will enable us to do that, but obviously there are other facets.
I don't have an issue with that side of things. It's more the having them.
Yeah, and it's like I said, they're not different than what other municipalities are adopted. And I think what we did last time was, I don't want to say grossly different, but it was different than what other jurisdictions currently have. So we tried to find the happy medium, and this is kind of the document that we came up with.
Kind of what I was thinking. I don't know if it's possible or not, but even have it so that it's let's say a certain lot size and above it doesn't apply. I don't know if that's a possibility or not.
anything is possible. I mean, but then it becomes, how do you enforce it? Right. So, I'm just looking at our bylaw enforcement officer. If I ask them, do you know what the acreage of a particular parcel of land? I'm sure he does not have that answer. So, we don't want to overcomplicate, things for the bylaw enforcement officer on how he enforces the bylaw. I think at the end of the day, if there's no problem, the bylaw enforcement officer does not have a problem. If there is a problem, the bylaw enforcement officer needs tools to act, correct, and have somebody conform. So I think the goal is to have him have the tools to be able to conform in areas that currently has no regulation.
Better sense, but I understand.
It still doesn't, but I understand what you're
I
saying.
don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But
I just feel like all of a sudden that becomes illegal for somebody could have a couple hundred acres and be walking their dog without a leash, and they're doing it illegally now. Or if it goes through a sort.
Yeah, it only becomes an issue once there's a problem.
Yeah.
And then we'll look to apply the regulation. Patricia, je crois que tu avais mis ton bouton puis je l'avais éteint, but
I think Patricia turned off your light. And Councilor Patricia, thank you. Page 12, we were talking about the annual fees for the tag. For each dog, it will be established at the when the annual budget is adopted. So do we have an amount? I never discuss it like in the budget deliberation in October. Usually it's $10 per year. However, since we did not get the complete information from documents, what we will maintain with the introduction of this bylaw, well, it will be $10 for now. And really, it's multiple because some municipalities, for instance, they will get $15 for 1 year and then $25 for 2 years. So there are different models that will be available. And the idea, by excluding it by the bylaw, we can modify it while we are proceeding with the budget every year. So we can make some modifications to increase it in a sense, we need to, if we deem it necessary. So we have more flexibility. So it will stay at $10 until the next budget. So with the new dog beds, are there a management fees that it will cost more? Because there's always some administration fees. Since it's NBSPCA who has a contract, that what I understand, the fees will not be, they will get it for people who register. So there will not be additional fees for the municipality, but it's still to be confirmed. There's no transaction fees, but we do not have enough information to be sure 100% to establish fees. So this is the reason why we are there, but might increase to 15 or maintain to 10, depending what we're being told. But the discussion I had with SPCA, we were told there was no management fees for the municipality, but we will still have access to all the registration to see all the dogs who are registered in the committee. So it's quite interesting because we have a database with all the registered dogs in our region. It will be to determine if there are any fees for the citizen. If I may add, so the adoption of a bylaw will be similar to what they were before, but every year, during the budget process. So the goal in the perfect world would be to create a policy for all our administrative fees, either to rent a playground or to rent the arena. During the budget process, if we have to make adjustments, so we adopt one policy that will include all our administrative fees. So that would be the perfect world. But for now, since the interim in the bylaw, if you put the fee, we're not 3 readings to change it and so on and so forth. So I wanted to facilitate it for the process. I just wanted to see what it would be this year. So the actual current bylaw would only apply in the old Treaty Act. So its adoption was in 2010. So the fee never changed in 15 years, remained the same. Very similar in all municipalities. In general, it varies from $10, $15 in some.
comme je disais, il y en a que c'est.
As I was saying, like some is for 3 years, it's an amount for 2 years, and then so what I don't like as much with this model, we still have to control like the proof of vaccination, and that's what's important. That's what we're looking for, like for the dogs to be vaccinated. So we remove this possibility. I think it's really what's important at the basis, and that this is reasonable.
Conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin.
Councillor Jean-Claude Bertrand. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. If someone calls here, say, well, my neighbor, like his dog, bark a lot. Is it Claude or Bill River? A combination of the two, so depending. So we got some complaints, similar complaints, like what we do in general, like we'll ask our bylaw officer, Claude, to see, like to do like a first visit to see what's happening, to see if it's really a situation, and if it still goes on, we'll ask Mr. Grimmer, like to be involved in the file, because Claude does Shediac, Cape, and the rest. No, in the case, not necessarily, but in the case that we cannot really cover, like. However, like in some cases, it happened like either like Claude or Mr. Grimmer were involved in some files, at least via text and email, and maybe like a few visits to see what's happening in that area. Because we were in a gray area in our municipal bylaw.
Donc,
So,
on a une proposition qui était
so we had a motion
table.
on the table.
Tous en faveur, on dit non. Oui.
All in favor, saying aye.
Contre, non.
Against, nay.
Un non. Councillor
One nay. Councillor Steves.
Adopté.
It's been carried.
John, did you want to continue with the readings?
John, good.
Ah, c'est excuse-moi.
Si tu veux.
Oui,
Monsieur le maire.
vas-y, Monsieur Greffier.
Arrêté numéro 25-18, arrêté relatif au contrôle des chiens. Voilà.
Bylaw for dog control. So this is, it's done by title.
Oui, c'est juste
Just by title. Only it's title. Councillor Steves.
motion number 2.
Be it resolved that the first reading of bylaw number 25-18 by its title is accepted.
So moved by Councillor John Steves, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. One nay. Motion carried. Motion number 3.
Switch one.
Oh. No.
Non, je me demande s'il veut la
Go ahead, John.
Be it resolved that a bylaw entitled Bylaw number 25-18, a bylaw relating to dog control, be given a second reading by its title.
So moved by Councillor Steves, seconded by Conseiller Paul Boudreau. Monsieur, all those in favor say aye. Against nay. One nay. Motion carried. Monsieur Greffier?
Arrêté
Mr.
numéro
Clerk,
25-18, arrêté
Bylaw
relatif au contrôle des
2518, dog control bylaw. This one is short and sweet.
Be it resolved that the second reading of bylaw number 25-18 by its title is accepted.
This-
So moved by Councillor John Steves, seconded by Conseiller Paul Boudreau. All those in favor say aye. All those against nay. One nay. Motion carried. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Si tu me permets, Monsieur le Maire.
If you allow me, Mr. We did the first and the second reading, so the goal, if they would be to have a special meeting next week virtually, would be the only item on the agenda to do the third and last reading of the adoption. So you should have an invitation for this meeting for next Monday.
Question, Conseiller Paul Boudreau?
Question, can I ask a question to Sylvain? It's been 2 or 3 times, like for procedural bylaw, and council member brings a motion, they vote against. I respect the vote as John did. Like, is it something we can do? Yes. So donc, I would like to move.
Tu peux voter contre. T'as le droit de voter
You
contre.
can vote against a motion you move, just to make sure it's legal.
Dans le fond, la proposer et le.
So you can move it and second it. It's one thing, and then vote, it's another thing. I just wanted to make sure, like, John was good. I respect his vote. Maybe you don't want to do the motion, but I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. It's on the record, so.
Donc,
So,
prochain, merci beaucoup.
next one,
Numéro, l'arrêté Z.
the bylaw Z-14-4461Z is for second and third reading. So this one is for the rezoning on under commercial buildings on Main Street. So the last time we dealt with this, we table it. So we have several questions that were mentioned during our discussions, and we have a representative from Plan 360, so they will be able to answer the question. So once we have a motion on the table, so I need someone to move. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For bylaws Z-1444-61Z. Be it resolved that the bylaw Z-14-44-61Z, a bylaw amending the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, be read a second time by its title. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded Councillor Émile O'Brien. Questions on this one? Councillor Roland Cormier, Mr. Mayor. Maybe more a comment or a question. So my concern, like I had the concern, like at the first and second reading, I still have the same. I know there was a request like to have a location on Main Street, and I think it's good. I'm not against, but it's the way like we're doing this. That's where I have a more problem with it. So my concern is that if we say yes to this bylaw, we're kind of opening the door. And I know like some colleagues, they have no concern, and that's okay. So we open the door like to development for additions like to a building that could be added with standards. We can add like an apartment or attach also to a building attached to another building like in the downtown the core. So that's where I have a little bit more concern. I'm not sure how we can write it like to see what the developer wants to do and maybe restrict like because my concern. So the last time I asked that question, the answer was no. I will ask the question again, like to the people from Plan 360. Can we do some kind of gymnastics around this? Maybe Phil can essentially like the request on the floor is to allow it for the overall territory. So this is like the request on the floor. But if there's another request only for the building, it would be another request that the council will have to deal with. So the request here, it's only to allow, but there wouldn't be any request. It wouldn't. I will just use like an example. No Frills veut faire une addition. Let's say No Frills want to build an addition to its business for an apartment. If we change it, so they would be able, like, without coming in front of the municipal council, would that be okay? We'll say would be okay. And once again, there are some conditions, like, and I just want to mention today, they could build an addition, like we're using Rossi. They can already like build an addition that if it would force like the commercial on the first floor, then Rossi wouldn't stop Rossi like to build an addition and have apartments with the regulations we have today. Like where the proposed bylaw was specific to give a little bit more flexibility, so there would be a synergy with the National Building Code that require like the buildings, like the units for reduce mobility and to allow them and have them like on the first floor. So that's what I understood the last time. But you were not there, so I don't want to point fingers. But like Rossi's example for Rossi, because we know the building, that's why. There's no project that said no frills, but it could be anyone. So we didn't have to ask for a rezoning request. Not today. They could build an addition and they wouldn't need to ask, but they would need to have commercial like in the first floor, and then they could build an apartment on top. So that's a regulation today. So we did a scan. And many municipalities in the region, they have this too. So they're asking for the commercial in the front, and they leave some space also at the back for residential units. So many municipalities, they have downtown doing the same in the southeastern New Brunswick. Some bigger municipalities and some smaller. So it seems to be like a standard or common practice. Like a commercial building can build an extension. And to put a residential, they would have to build it second floor with a change. This residential, if they want to do so, so they could have it on the first floor essentially, but not in front. It has to be at the back, or to a maximum of 50%. It could be as small as 5%, or it depends on the size of the residential unit. There's a minimum size like for residential in the bylaws. So there is a minimum, the equivalent for a bachelor or one bedroom or.
Question, Conseiller Joël Després.
Question, Councillor Joël Després. So you answered most of my questions, but if we voted like against, we would be voting against the law. Is it against the law? Would be voting like against the law, or? No, because you said like the national building code requires a barrier-free unit. It means like if the barrier-free unit is not on the first floor, you need like an elevator. So the cost like to install like an elevator and make those projects unsustainable. We'll have small building or big mega buildings. So we will not have middle ground like 2 or 3 stories, like a smaller, because it become like the affordable housing unit everyone is looking for. In Rossi's example, if Rossi like would build an extension, if they want residential on the second floor, they would need to have like to put like a. They would need to have an elevator because they need to have a barrier-free like a unit. In this case, they could put it on the first floor at the back, so it would be cheaper than an extension like with an elevator. So they still have the obligation. That's something they have to clarify. So thank you. Because an elevator, $250,000 minimum. It was $100,000 like 10 years ago, so it's quite expensive. So everything doubled like since the pandemic. Perfect. So if it answers your question, so thank you very much. Maybe the last item was the fact like the spot rezoning, if instead of doing it by text modification. So the reason we suggest like a text modification, well, so the goal of a bylaw is to give some kind of a reinsurance, like what people can expect in their area. Everything becomes a spot rezoning, so there's no regulation. Everything's on the table, so you never know what to expect. It's good like to have some
spot rezoning
bylaws for everyone. So the spot rezoning removes the predictability. If you do one spot rezoning like once in your life, it's one thing, but if you do it on a regular basis, there's some projects like these were like the school would be the spot rezoning. But in general, if something that impacts the bylaw and not the project, it has to be done by text modification. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Conseiller Després, non?
Councillor Després, non?
Puis que c'était conseiller Bertin qui l'avait commencé. Donc, j'ai besoin d'un vote, là.
I need a vote.
Sur cette partie-là. Donc,
on this part. So,
tous en faveur, on dira oui.
All in favor saying aye. Against nay?
Adopté.
Carried. Mr. Clerk.
Non, excuse.
Merci. Arrêté
Thank
numéro
you.
Z-14.
Bylaw Z-14-44, a bylaw modifying the bylaw Z-44 of the town of Shediac. Be it resolved that we accept the second reading of bylaw Z-14-44-61Z by its title. I shall move. Moved by
Jean-Claude Bertin.
Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin,
On a roll.
Ouais. Appuyé de
seconded by
Émile O'Brien.
Councillor Emile O'Brien.
J'ai vu ton nom comme il faut.
I got your name right.
Tous en faveur.
All in favor, saying aye.
Question?
Questions?
Ben non, mais ça, il y en a eu aujourd'hui. Tous en faveur, on dira oui.
All in favor, saying aye. Against nay.
Adopté.
It's been carried. Councillor Martin. Be it resolved that the bylaw -44Z, a bylaw amending the town Shediac zone bylaw, be read a third time by its title and its entirety. I shall move, Mr. Mayor.
Jean-Claude Bertin. Appuyé du
Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien.
En faveur, on dira oui.
All in favor, saying aye. Against nay.
Adopté. Monsieur
Motion carried.
Arrêté
Mr.
numéro
Clerk, bylaw
Z-44,
a bylaw amending like the Z-44 of the town of Shediac.
Des pouvoirs que lui confère la loi
In
sur
the
l'urbanisme, le conseil municipal
vested,
de
Shediac is taking like the bylaw enacted Z-44 edicted on April and filed with the most controversial as number 30 through 79, 5973 on May 23rd, 2014 is hereby as follows. Within section 13, central commercial CC of bylaw Z-14-44, the town of Shediac zoning bylaw is amending by repealing sections 13.1.1B and 13.1.2 and replacing them with 13.1.2 for the development of any new building on Main Street containing multiple unit dwelling or a dwelling as secondary use shall contain a minimum of 50% of the ground floor gross or area dedicated to other uses than dwellings or interior parking. B, the full width of the street facade ground floor facing the street line of Main Street shall be dedicated to other uses than dwelling or interior parking. C, stories below the ground floor shall not be used for the purpose of dwellings. 2, within section 14, general commercial zone GC of bylaw Z-14-44, the town of Shediac zoning bylaw is amended by repealing section 14.1.1C and 14.12 and replacing them with 14.12 for the development of any new building on Main Street containing multiple unit dwelling or a dwelling as secondary use. A shall contain a minimum of 50% of the ground floor gross floor area dedicated to other uses than dwellings or interior parking. B, the full width of the street facade, ground floor facing the street line of Main Street, shall be dedicated to other uses than dwelling or interior parking. Stories below the ground floor shall not be used for the purpose of dwellings. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Be it resolved that to accept the third reading of bylaw Z-14-44-61Z by its title and its entirety, I shall move by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. It's the end of the bylaws. We still have a couple of motions.
Numéro 15.1.
15.1 Recreation Center. So we'll give you a background. So it's my turn, Mr. Mayor. So we'll give a little break like to Clerk. Mr. Clerk is happy. So we're making progress with the file for the Recreation Center. Now we're at the point we want to evaluate some locations like for a possible site for that center. And we also want to assess like what are the pros and cons, what the service would be required, to analyze also like the optimal location, and to analyze also to assess like the type of construction, the type of brick building, etc. And you might remember like a few years ago, like we hired like an Englobe to do this work. Essentially, like they are doing that work again. And I think they will be a little bit more specific with their analysis, like to evaluate the issues, like for possible sites. There are 3 sites that we're not giving you that in sharing information. We do not want any speculations, but the 3 sites are located like within the town of Shediac. And once the report is completed, well, we'll give you communicate the result of the evaluation. So Englobe is ready to start the work on for an amount of that's being proposed like in their service offer. So this amount is budgeted like during the budget process. Well, we budgeted like 300,000 amount to do like some studies and analysis, and this amount will be taken within like the budgeted amount like during the budget process. We're ready like to answer any questions if you have any. I need a motion like to put this on the table to start the question period.
Anybody?
Anybody? Councillor Patricia. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Center bid result, the municipal council approved the administration recommendation to retain the proposal from Englobe for an amount of 75,000 plus HST, and that this sum comes from the special projects infrastructure support account. Moved by Councillor Patricio Bourque-Chavarri, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. Question. Councillor Paul Boudreau. Could I have a clarification, please, on that? I'm very happy, like we're making progress on this file. Can you answer like step 3, like the evaluation of a financial capacity? Is it done? If it's the case, like how are we able to mandate like a firm to prepare for an infrastructure? We're not sure if we can pay it or not. I'm a little bit confused. Can you clarify, Yves, really, or we don't know how much we can pay for a product, but we're asking a contract to provide like a product.
I'll let the community life director answer, but basically we want to make sure that the file does move forward. I won't say that we're going to report tomorrow, but we continue to work with BCD on analyzing the business plan. This would be done in tandem with that. If the report were to come out with bad surprises, let's say, you should trust staff that we would bring those results to you earlier rather than later. To say that we're not going forward with the Englobe study. This gives us the flexibility to say we go forward, we do an analysis. If the report comes back in the next few weeks from BC2 or during the summer season, that really doesn't match up, well, obviously, we wouldn't have had any delays. We just want to make sure that the file continues to move forward. We know that council wants the file to move forward. Yes, things are being done in parallel. Even if all of the answers aren't yet received, this desire the council to wait. We can wait, but you should expect that the file will take longer. My point is not waiting, Yves. There's 2 topics. Last week, a few weeks ago, there was a file, and Harry referred to that. We have big items to pay, and I agree with this project. My worry here is that it would be hard to pay. Second, even worse, it's that we create a false impression among citizens that we're hiring a company that will propose for a sports field. I never saw that was on the table for this file. That can take on some scope depending on. I never saw a sports field in the public consultation we had. We're talking about a pool and ice surface. So is this now part of the file? If that's the case, can we pay a sports field, or is the field smaller? It's not to set the file back. It seems to me like we're skipping a step before knowing we can pay for something. The sites that we've identified, I don't want to say that dream big, but we want to have this flexibility to assess future needs. Certainly, the project right now is 2 ice surfaces, 1 pool with a sports field within. Field house, a gym. That's what we're working on. But missing an opportunity to choose a site that would not allow us to expand in the future, be it outdoor fields, pickleball, court. Like, for example, in Dieppe, a lot of people don't know it. There's a cricket court in Dieppe. We don't know what the needs of this municipality will be in 50 years. We just want to make sure that we assess the sites that will allow us to have some flexibility, long-term flexibility. And if we have to develop infrastructure, that we can do it in a central place, not just fragmented within municipality. We really, and I think that it's a council vision with the recreational center. If the council goes forward with it, is to create a sort of hub where people can see a series of activities and have them offered, a type of central location where people can leave from that and connect to a wider network. And we want to dream big to assess larger sites to grant us that flexibility. If the council decides, well, that amount is perhaps not something we want to pay because the purchase price for that type of piece of land compared to a piece of land that doesn't have those components. I fully agree with you, Yves. My last question / comment. This is not a council project. It's staff. It's a citizens project. When will we involve citizens in this process? We've done it for other projects in town. I dare say that a strong committee will have better weight for recommendations to council to free up all these millions. With all the respect due to staff and council, when will be involving citizens? I'll allow the director to respond. Yes, obviously. All of the community project that we're foreseeing now, the various levels of government are asking, what is the community support? That means I don't want a rubber stamp committee. I want a committee that's very involved. We want champions for this project who will help us to knock on doors, who will knock on doors themselves to try to get financing. I'll allow the director to answer. You were well set out to do it. So basically, the next step is to do the strategic plan for the financing campaign. That's where we'll seek out our champions. That strategic plan has to be done by someone for whom it's a specialty. We're seeking that right now. We're going to knock on doors to seek out that person. It's not somebody from here that will be doing that. We have some names in mind, and they're from all around Canada. And also, once the strategy is developed, we will recruit the people. That's when we will seek out the people here, and we'll need you as councillors to help us to target them and to seek them out to create our committee. I didn't understand the whole Canada thing. No, it wasn't. They're not American experts. But Ronald referred to that last time. I agreed with him. It's a Montreal or Quebec or Ontario company that would come. We haven't yet picked it. We haven't made a choice. We haven't brought the file before the council. We have to develop a strategy in terms of what we're going to use. I'll take out the little operational planning Bible to recruit financing campaign. We gave ourselves until 2026 to do this. The dates that we gave you is that what we're aiming to respect, and the work that we're doing now is to be in line with respecting what we adopted in strategic planning. And step 3 will be when? When will it be done? It was 10 to 12 weeks. you've been granted, you've allowed yourself more than that. It's also with the collaboration of the organizations that have to provide the information. Today, indeed, we received our last information sheet. We can only move forward as fast as we get the information. That step is now complete. Right now, BC2 has all the elements to do the analysis of the needs analysis. With the needs analysis, they will be able to identify what type of building we'll need to build and the services that will be included in the building. And from there, with the type of building that we'll need to build, it will be in parallel with the project that we are currently speaking about in terms of Englobe. For building the building on a lot. Is it possible with those services in that building on that lot? That's why it's in parallel. It's complementary. And with the diagnosis of these sheets, they will also be developing the programming that could be possible there. It's the functional service offering based on the sheets that we've received in that building. It will show what will be in the building. So what we're voting on now, what is the timetable? 2026. 2026. For Englobe. So this one right now, they have 12 weeks, if I'm not wrong. The timetable proposed by Englobe for looking to open up their service offering. Well, we have something before our budget deliberations. It's in 6 weeks. The objective was to have the business plan, to have it for the budget plan, but the site selection would not be for the budget deliberations. We need to analyze the sites independently. That's why the business plan will decide whether we go forward with the project or not. With the site that goes forward is not necessary for the budget process. Well, certainly during our analysis, we're already doing an informal analysis of potential costs. When we advise the council, we'll have to advise what strategy we'll be undertaking to acquire such a piece of land. We're not really aiming to acquire the land for the budget process, but the financial plan, yes, absolutely. According to your plans, what we'll look at end of 26. If we don't liberate the money for 2026, how will we do steps for 2026? So 2026, just in the big lines of it. Basically, it's to have a tender package ready for the project, to get bids, to grant construction as of 2027. It's a tender package that would involve buying lands. If it's buying land, we need to find money. So it's in the 2026 budget this year. Not necessarily, because the purchase of land can be part of our application to the lending commission. We don't need to pay with the operational budget to acquire a piece of land. There are some programs that don't allow that. There are certain amounts from the FCM, or when you're acquiring land. But when you're acquiring land for a project, you can go before the borrowing commission to acquire them, depending on the site, the construction style, etc. This is what is planned as part of the strategic plan, is to prepare the tender package for the purchase and to start construction in 2027. Great, thank you very much. I will always insist on, we have a local deputy, a local MP. I think we want a very strong file to present in Ottawa. I don't know the next election dates will be. So we can't act last minute. That's my only point. Right? We're lucky that we had provincial and federal elections last year, but we never know where we're going to go. I thank you very, very much. Thank you. So to get some money, where it's at other government levels or private or from the private sector, if you do that work before to see what we're working with, basically. So With that, on the motion to retain the services of Englobe for that part of things, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
15.2.
15.2. This is for overtime. Policy 2025-16, non-unionized employees overtime. Because I'm going to do a brief summary. I will do it. Tonight, we presented the policy. It is now time to see what the council wants to do with it. I simply need a motion to start debate. Who? Councillor Després came close to doing it. 15.2, Policy 2025-16, non-unionized employee overtime. Therefore, be it resolved that the municipal council adopt policy 2516, non-unionized employee overtime, presented by the administration of the town of Shediac. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Any questions? Councillor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. The cost of accepting this policy, if we did the calculations for last year, the additional cost would be how much? The additional cost is obviously if the employee would have taken all accumulated time off, or we let's say that the municipality were to cease existing and we have to do a lump sum payment to pay all of the accumulated time, it would be nearly $70,000. To have something budgeted for this year's budget, and it's filed. Yes, we have an amount budgeted. We don't have the full amount, obviously, that is budgeted. We'd have to adjust it. Once again, I'd like to specify the objective of the policy would be to ensure that employees can use the time for time, but let's say that an employee is not able, they would be able to take some in monetary compensation. And the budget amount in this budget is how much? It is approximately $40,000 that is in this year's budget. Very good. Thank you. Councillor Peter Breaux. Just a question. If I understood properly from the woman who had spoken to us before, if we vote against this motion, we're voting against the labor employment standards law. Yes. That's not what I'd understood, Your Worship. I had understood that if we vote for this, the employees, the non-unionized employees are, well, we're fine. If it is the management level employees that we're not obliged to. So don't say that we're voting. If we vote against it, it's against the law. That's why the woman said that for non-unionized employees, yes, it would be against the law. But she also clarified that the service department management and upper management, it would not be against the law if we gave it to them or not gave it to them. I just want to clarify. I understand what you're saying. I had understood from her explanations, correct me if I misunderstood, that the law does not stipulate in a specific way, that's it, if upper management would be exempted or not. That's exactly it. So it's not against, that's not against the law, but for the others, it is. I will grant you that. Let's at least clarify what it really means. I wouldn't want citizens who are listening to say, why did you vote on for or against it? And we can vote as we will. I intend to amend this, but I'll wait for the debate and before I amend it. I propose my amendment. So I see no more questions.
Non, lui, c'est pour, il avait fait la motion.
No, he made the motion. I'd like to make an amendment. I'd like to amend the application. Right now it says this policy shall apply to administrative staff and to non-unionized management in the town of Shediac, with the exception of casual, temporary, and student workers. I would add CAO, clerk, and department director. I so move.
Non, il propose de modifier.
He's proposing an amendment to the policy and the application section.
C'est un amendement à la politique.
It's an amendment to the policy.
Oui.
OK. Moi, je propose l'amendement.
I move an amendment to the policy.
Tu peux faire motion.
C'est pas la politique.
The motion
Représenté avec différents textes.
inaudible.
C'est ça. Sensible.
OK.
Là, on a-
Pas la motion.
This seems like we're doing some gymnastics here. There's some parliamentary gymnastics going on here. Go on, Your Worship.
Qu'est-ce que je peux comprendre? Puis oui,
From what I understand, yes, the text that you're saying is the text in the policy. I understand.
La motion est pour
The motion is to adopt the policy as presented. Yes,
Puis on demande.
and
C'est ça. Ça veut dire qu'on est
that
prêt de voter.
that means that we're voting on the policy.
La politique, moi, je
The policy,
un amendement
I'm making an amendment to the policy
pour la modifier.
OK.
to amend it,
Ils vont décider
and
si-
my colleagues will decide.
Monsieur Conseiller, Monsieur Greffier.
And Mr. Clerk, there's a motion on the table. An amendment would be amendment to the motion and not an amendment to the policy. Maybe that's the parliamentary gymnastics, but that is how it is. We can't modify the policy. We have the motion on the floor to approve it or not. The policy would need to be reworked and brought back to council after. We can't do an amendment. We can't do it on the fly. We can't amend the policy on the fly to present it and to vote on it. That's just what we're trying to stipulate, Councillor Cormier. If the motion were to be the text of the application, yes, but you can't modify the document per se. Yeah, I can ask that the document be not be tabled or and defeat the motion and a different document be presented. That we could do and to do what you're seeking to do, Councillor Cormier. Are you following me?
Je suis, mais je suis pas
I am
d'accord.
following you, but I don't agree.
On est en train de parler de-
We're
de
talking
politique,
about
puis
a policy.
on l'a attaché à
We
la
attached it
résolution.
to the resolution. Yes,
On parle d'une politique,
we're talking about a
attaché à la
policy.
résolution.
We've attached the resolution, and we can't modify the policy that we're going to be voting on.
C'est ridicule.
It's ridiculous. No, it's not ridiculous. What you're voting on, be it resolved, that we accept the policy,
Modifier la politique.
but we want to modify the policy. That means you have to defeat the motion
Pour ensuite
to then
revenir avec ça à un autre temps.
come back to it another time
Ou tabler de nouveau.
or table it.
Ben,
Well,
c'est ce qu'on peut
if
faire,
that's
hein.
all we can
C'est
do
accepter ou la tabler.
to accept it or table
La
it,
seule manière qu'on peut
the only
faire
way
modifier,
that
c'est
we
de
can try to
tabler,
modify it
et
is to
vous allez
table it,
revenir à la modifier.
and you'll come back with a modified version. Let's say it's a zoning bylaw,
Puis non, puis on fait des conditions.
and we do put conditions. The conditions are part of the motion. The bylaw is the motion per se. It's just a bit different.
Ben,
Well,
je vais m'asseoir, puis je
I
vais
will
parler.
try something.
Faire la motion de la
I will make a motion to table
avec
and to
la
come back
modification
with
que je suis
the modification that I'm suggesting.
Donc j'ai une motion pour.
So I have a motion.
Non,
So
j'ai une motion pour.
I have a motion to table
Motion
this motion
d'adopter la politique.
to adopt the policy.
Tabler ne nécessite aucun débat. J'ai besoin de
The
quelqu'un.
tabling does not require any debate. I do require a seconder. Councillor Peterborough
Pour,
seconds.
La motion pour tabler.
Seconds the motion.
J'ai de la misère. Oui.
Yes.
Sur ça, les gens, ce qu'ils veulent.
So all those who want to table this, raise your hands.
Les gens se contre.
Those who are against tabling this motion, motion is defeated.
Donc on revient sur la motion.
So we're coming back to the original motion.
Merci, Conseiller Gourmet.
Thank you, Councillor Cormier.
Tout le monde.
All those in favor,
Levez votre main.
raise your hand, please.
Oui. Tous contre?
All those against, raise your hand, please.
Deux.
Two.
Conseil économique.
Councillor Cormier and Councillor Bro.
Adopté.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
L'accord de résiliation.
So, Maison Webster termination agreement.
La motion est finie.
The motion is done. The motion is done. In other words, please look at the amount of employees. Can we see an org chart?
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. I'm working on the org chart with the new employees. Right. I will send it to you.
Parfait.
Great.
Donc, accord de résiliation.
So, termination agreement, Webster House.
Oui.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Gagné.
Apparently, I won.
En fait, ça, c'est une.
This
lorsqu'on a fait
is
le rezonage,
When we did the rezoning
les terrains sur la maison Webster,
for the
la fin,
lots on
le début de-
Webster House at the early part of 2025,
en fait,
there was
qui
already
étaient déjà
a company
intéressés à
that was
acheter
interested in
le-
buying the land that was
Ils
rezoned.
ont fait l'étude du-
When they did the study of the
Ils se sont
title
rendus
per
compte qu'il y avait
se,
des covenants qui
they
avaient été,
realized that there were
enregistrés
covenants
par la
that had
ville
been registered by the
avec,
town
les autres parties, donc
with
soit
other
Royal Shediac
parties,
Mansion,
Royal Shediac
Shediac
Mansion
Golf and Country
and Royal Shediac
Resort,
Golf and Country
en
Resort
1994.
in
Donc,
1994.
les deux autres entités
So both
n'existent
other
plus
entities no longer
aujourd'hui.
exist.
Donc, on a un
So,
covenant qui a été signé
there's a
avec
covenant that was signed
compagnie,
with
et la covenant est
companies,
encore en place.
and the covenant is still in
La
place.
seule chose qui est
So the only
recommandée,
thing
donc,
that
par
is recommended by
notre
our
compagnie, pas notre compagnie d'avocats, mais
the law firm,
c'est que maintenant, étant donné que
our law
les
firm
deux
is now
sont plus
given that the
en
two others
opération,
are no longer in
on
operation,
cette
we can
clause-là,
remove
qui va
that clause,
justement
and that will allow
de
future developers
se procurer ces terrains
to acquire those lots and develop them as they will. Currently, there are some limits placed on the title of that property given the covenants signed in 1994. Is that clear?
Presque.
Nearly clear?
Essayer avec une autre explication.
I can explain it again
Conseil Joël Després.
with a different explanation. Councillor Desprez, I would like to read it and have a comment after. 15.3 Termination Agreement, Webster House. Whereas the town of Shediac is party to an agreement entered into with Royal Shediac Mansion LT Limited and Royal Shediac Golf Country Resort Limited dated March 3rd, 1994, registered with the land registration system under number 590707. Whereas the main purpose of the agreement was to rezone the parcels bearing identification numbers NID 70139274009 73784 701368841 706245564 and 707055157. The parcels to allow for the operation of tourist facilities, a corporate headquarters, and a golf clubhouse. Whereas none of the facilities mentioned in the agreement have been built or operated, and the zoning of the parcels has been changed several times since the agreement was signed. Whereas two of the parties to the agreement, Royal Shediac Mansion Limited and Royal Shediac Golf and Country Resort Limited, are now dissolved. Whereas the council is of the opinion that it is in the best interest of the town of Shediac to terminate the agreement and declare it null and void. Be it therefore resolved that the municipal council authorize the staff of the town of Shediac to take all necessary steps to terminate the agreement and register the required receipts with the land registration system so that the agreement ceases to encumber the parcels. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by
Councillor Harry McEnroy.
Councillor Harold McElroy.
Question.
Any questions, Councillor Després? Thank you, Your Worship. If I'm understanding correctly, I'm a bit disappointed that didn't get this information before we rezoned those parcels last year. I think that the study of the parcels was done by Plan 360, I believe, when you did the rezoning. Maybe that's not important. At the time of the rezoning, it wasn't the important conditions, but in the potential transaction coming up, they want to remove the conditions that are there to be able to develop so that the lawyers seem to be saying that it's in 1994, it was done. There's only us among the three parties who's entered in the agreement they still exist. So it's not anything that would have come out during the rezoning per se. Okay, but let's say that those companies would still exist. Would that not have come up when you did rezoning? Not necessarily. The parties, just as we did in some sense, because we received the request, the lawyers of the other party trying to buy those parcels, those other companies would have to be approached at the same time. They could have done the same thing as we're doing, simply terminate the agreement. Okay, great. It's part of the same lots, but the covenants on a piece of land have nothing to do with their zoning, especially in terms of purchasing and what is possible in the future and what could be developed on it. What is foreseen, as I understood, would make no difference, but the purchasers want it to be removed to proceed to the purchase, as I understand it. That the 1994 project is long gone. So, with that, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, number 15.4, Municipal Council composition. Mr. CEO, yes, thank you, Your Worship. So we did the presentation, or the chair of the committee, the Composition Review Committee presented his report last month. It was related to a recommendation to modify the existing composition for the next elections. The next steps, maybe not the next steps. If the council wishes to look at this question, we need to do two things. The first thing, it is one bylaw that is mentioned specifically in Local Governance Act. When we you have to send a public notice to let residents know and people that we want to study the question on a specific date. The goal today would be to get a resolution to allow the council to have the discussion that they wish to look at the bylaw proposed that was recommended. It doesn't force the council to adopt the bylaw, but it does signal their intention, the council's intention, that it will look at this question. That's the first thing. The second thing, as was mentioned in the report, the bylaw in question before it will be adopted would need the approval of the minister. Why would it need the ministerial approval? Because the bylaw changes in less than 4 years. The law sets out that a council can modify its composition, its existing composition, but it can't do it within a period of 4 years. So the Minister of Local Governance prepared specific steps for municipalities that were impacted, that were modified by during the reform, to get the ministerial approval to modify the bylaw that council wants to look at. If we look at the dates and the delays, if we were to wait, council were to wait for the ministerial approval, we might not meet the time requirements to submit a new council composition to elections in New Brunswick 6 months before the next elections, and that date is planned for November 11th. By November 11th, the council has to adopt a modified, amended bylaw, but they also need to receive ministerial approval. By doing it this way, by seeking this resolution, it allows the council to provide notice, but also allow staff to start work with the department to say that the council is seeking to modify and with this recommendation. Obviously, if it changes, they're at least aware. It will take fewer modifications. We're kickstarting the process with the department to make sure that we can get the ministerial approval in time for November. So, as I said, this has two objectives: set a date so that the council can study the question and debate it, and number two, to start the process with the department to make sure that we can get the ministerial approval to revise existing composition that would come into effect for the next elections, and that would be voted on during the next elections. Thank you for the summary. Madam Deputy Mayor, would you like to read it?
Yes,
thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor. 15.4, council composition. Be it resolved that the council mandates the administration to prepare a draft version to repeal bylaw 23-01 bylaw respecting to the composition of the municipal council in order to adopt a new bylaw with regard to changing the current composition of the council. And as per section 41A and 45(1)B of the Local Governance Act, be it resolved that council provides notice to which first reading of a bylaw with respect to the composition of the council be made at the regular meeting of August 18, 2025 at 6 o'clock. I shall move by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Questions on the motion? Councillor Roland Cormier. It's not a question, it's more of a comment. Thanks to the committee. I was part of the committee. I did not change my opinion on when we should make those changes, but I think the changes, they're a little bit premature, and I think the changes should be done at 2029 and not 2026. And here are the reasons why I think the changes in the composition of the Greater Shediac, it should not change the composition of the council. One of the reasons, I will allow you, but we are voting to start the process. I don't want the process to start, and I have 5 minutes to talk about this, right? That's it, okay? Thank you. I will give you the time. That will be done before 5 minutes. So the reason I'm against to start the process is first, the Department of Local Government. So the reason they have 4 years, there is a reason. People from outside of Shediac, after the amalgamation, people did not want to come, and people are still telling me we're there, but right now we have 4 people around the table, and I think we should continue to have 4 people until 2029. 2029, to go to have it for 2030. So a planning service where you're studying. We don't know where we're going, municipal bylaws. Well, thank God, we have some. Unfortunately, with something we got hurt with that. Finally, we're starting working on it. Signs, we're still waiting for that. Water access, not solved of all the planning plan. It will not be done before the elections. So we did also a composition for Environment Committee. So we did not take it seriously. We only had 1 meeting. We asked Councillor O'Brien asked for a RCMP study. We didn't hear anything, nothing about this. We need someone around the table. And with the group we are here, and I think it would be too premature. It's a good exercise, but the exercise is 4 years too soon, and that's why, Mr. Mayor, I will not support this motion. Thank you. Thank you,
Councilor Beauchemin?
Cormier. Councilor Patricia Bourg-Trevin. I have a question. I know, like we had citizens on the committee. Will citizen be able to give some comment? Was there a public hearing? No, that's why we are notifying like the citizen. So we need to notify like the citizen. So the citizen will be encouraged like, to participate. We will provide like a notice such as a public hearing like for the population. So we'll have some kind of, it's not a public hearing per se, but being scheduled, but you need to allow the citizen or give them the possibility to give their opinion. Would be like would be like maybe on the public presentation on the agenda, maybe on the 18th, and then I will allow more like yes. So we need to send something like I know we had citizens on the committee, but just to take the pulse of the rest of the committee, I did it twice, like twice in my career to change the composition of the council. It's a good tool, like to give like the citizens to give their comments in writing. I think in the notice we give the citizen, maybe we could give them the opportunity to provide their comments in writing, the same as we did like we would do in the public hearing. It's something that has to be included in the package, so we are able to see what is the pulse of what the residents are saying, or in this matter. Of course, I cannot talk about the chair, but if the chair would like to allow like during like the discussion to have a public hearing where the citizen can express themselves, well, that's something we could look at. I would see in other circumstances I did in my career, it became like a tool that allows people like to share their concerns, but also to share their interests, like to have a better representation for their territory. Thank you. I would suggest that we put it on social media, but the older citizen, it should not only be on social media or websites, but I can tell you that, how would I say this? Like the act also like says how we can notify. We have different avenues like how to give a notice. We can do all of them, but I'm not saying one. I think we should be more proactive and maybe by a publication like let's in the local newspapers, the same as we would do like let's say like we would go to Capital Borrowing Board, we would do the same. It will be on our website, our social media, so then you would need more than one requirement. And I think it's one like we should go. We should do all those steps. Once we publish this, we will publish also what the committee. So the bylaw will be. We can provide the report, not necessarily a report, but I can tell you like the bylaw has to be made available, like. Because residents will have the opportunity to consult the bylaw. I'm not against. I still believe like the council that with the even number. I know with 50% the two ways. You mean like an odd number? I'm saying like an even number plus the mayor. I believe more in this type of council, but. Councillor Joël Després. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not repeat what Councillor Cormier said, but I think similar. I will add one thing before said 10 times. Maybe we are the biggest council in the province, but I think it should be used case by case, like the arguments and reflects. So that's why I will be keeping my vote the way it is.
Ne voyons pas d'autres questions?
No other questions?
Des gens de différentes,
we'll see like
différentes opinions.
Seeing different opinions. All in favor to start the process, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7
Tous contre?
against,
2, 3.
3.
Adopté. Merci.
It's been carried. Thank you.
On aura une plus grande discussion. Au mois
We'll have a longer discussion in August.
Numéro 15.5.
15.5 like
MNB.
UMNB representative
Donner le background au-
can give you some background because I'm
Euh,
aware.
essentiellement,
Essentially, like with the
la refonte de leurs
with the reform
statuts et règlements,
of their bylaw and
l'UMNB,
constitution, the UMNB
demande à tous ses
is asking
membres
all the
officiellement
member
désignés
municipality to officially
aura le
designate like who will have the right to
Assemblée
vote like
générale,
during the
par
AGMs like they will be
Avant, c'était
holding.
juste des gens
Previously, it was only like people who would be
désignent
attending,
personne. Et c'est
but they
ça
said like
qui
just to
demande.
design their representative,
Dans plusieurs
someone they're asking in many municipalities,
municipalités,
it's not the mayor who attend, might be a councillor or maybe the deputy mayor. So they're asking the municipality, tell me if it's a mayor or a councillor or if it's another councillor. It's simple.
De ce côté-là, ils veulent. Ici, on arrive avec
Here we came to the motion in front of you. Essentially, it would be the mayor or another member designed by municipal council. I will not attend. I intend to attend those meetings, but I simply need like someone to read the motion. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. UNMB representatives. Be it resolved that the municipal council authorize the mayor of the municipality or another member of the municipal council as a substitute to act as a voting member in the elections for the board of directors of the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, UMNB. I shall move by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Patricia Boucher-Barry. All in favor? Question. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried.
Numéro 15.6.
15.6 agreement, our LRL property. Mr. Clerk will give us like some background.
Un peu de détails, oui, en fait, c'est
Just a bit of detail. It's a project that's been in development for many months, several months. It started in May. It's a company that approached us to buy a parcel of land located between Greenwood Drive and Main Street, close to the Hebert Avenue, Hebert Street. So this development, and I look for some information because one of the Councillor Després was asked me, how come like the town of Shediac had this parcel of land? It goes back to 1993. It was the event to eventually build a street. So that's the reason like why the municipality owns this parcel of land. So when we look the way like the shape of the lot, it gives us the idea it would connect two streets. So this is the reason why the town of Shediac owns this land. So the LRL approached us to purchase this land in order to do a development like on this PID 7226 for 42, and we recommend simply like to proceed with the sale. And you should have all the documentation. I don't know if you have any questions. Councillor Joël Després, thank you, Miss. I had a question, but you answered them. Whereas RL Property Investment is planning a project in the area between Greenwood Drive and Main Street near Hebert Street in Shediac, whereas LRL Property Investment wishes to purchase part of the property designated at PID 702-60542, which belongs to the town of Shediac, in order to proceed with the development of this project. Be it resolved that the municipal council authorize the administration of the town of Shediac to enter into the agreement as proposed. Be it further resolved that the mayor of the town of Shediac and the clerk authorize on behalf and for the municipal council to sign the agreement with LRL Property Investment. I shall move, and I have a question. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Councillor Després. A question like for the CEO. I see that the company gave us like some appraisals of the lands that were around them. Is it like the norm that we take? Do we have also to make an assessment from on our side, or is only? I can give you I can answer like essentially the offer, the land assessment being proposed is very similar to what we are offering when we purchase land. We feel comfortable like with those assessments. And if the appraisal were extreme, well, maybe would have recommend like to go to this level, but yes, we have.
Question, Conseiller Paul Boudreau.
Christian, Councillor Paul Boudreau. So Spitfire, like it's a major project. Is it the right zonings before the council chamber is full and we get the opposition? It's partially zoned R3 and partially commercial. So that's something they would be able to do it right now. So the municipal services, like can they serve a project this magnitude? Well, of course, like any project of this magnitude is proposed, we need to do an analysis, and also like the Greater Shediac Sewer Commission, like to see for the capacity. We did not so far determine like there would be like any problem like to accommodate this type of development. So my point is, if we sell the land, if they cannot do anything, like what happened? Well, we could always add a clause like in the project, and the project is not go ahead as so we can also like look at, we can put it like and the other aspect also, Councillor Boudreau, we have to consider is when the permit requests are done, there's always some verification. Plan 360 mentioned this evening, so they will ensure like the request, if something happened, like the town will be approached, the sewer commission will be approached, everyone will be approached, and make sure like that project is compliant and can do. Let's say you build like 6 buildings, 5-story each. Like, if it's R3, don't you need a buffer now, or just if you're close to R3? Like, so there's no R1 beside. Yes, there are R1 like around the property, because there are some residences, individual residences. But in this question, like, if there were no like R1, if there was R1, like as for the zoning bylaw of the town of Shediac, it's already registered. It was adopted 2 years ago, so they would be obligated to follow those standards. Like it's to avoid what happened in those section of the town. So 600 parking spots, 480 units like in town. It was my concern. We have a guest, like I saw him, like Mr. Chevary, can you give us a bit of information? The biggest cost associated is traffic study, is to do like a traffic impact study to see what the units also they want to build, like to make the project sustainable. So it's another step like that they will do before they go like to the building permits. I was looking at the access. We will not settle like the issue for building permits or rezoning, or it's simply like to sell like a piece of property. Initially, it was supposed to plan for build a street. It's still like a wooden lot. So of course, we did not build a street there. So, Mr. Mayor, I want this to be done properly, like it's our action plan to sell a public land to a developer, to make sure like the developer just to say like which zone, like it has nothing to do like if we sell a piece of land or not. It's still a good question, like it's Councillor Lancormier. Thank you, Mr. May. Is it normal that we sell? Is it normal that we sell like streets, or was a future street in 1993? But we can find else. The question is like, for those who have more seniority on the council, like, is it usual that we sell streets? Future street. One thing I could say, Councilor Cormier, is when it's land like the situation. I had the same question with Mr. Clerk, like when he asked to add this to the agenda. This land was coming from, initially, it was a street that was planned, but the administration has no use, the town has no use for this parcel of land currently, and we do not think we'll use it in the future. It becomes like a surplus parcel of land. So the citizens of Shediac, they're not aware that we will do it, and if we say yes, that's it. This is, I do not disagree like with this. Maybe none has nothing to do with the other, but at the end of the day, like once we sell the parcel of land, it does not belong to us anymore. When it's gone, it's gone. I'm not saying it's a good or bad idea. The development might be good, but my other question, like Paul suggested, and it's not in the resolution, so I don't know if we can add it like with the parliamentary procedures. I don't know if we can add in the resolution, like if there was no development, like within 5 years, for instance, please with the wording that we can buy it again for the same price. This is something, it wouldn't be in the motion, but I would say it's really with the agreement. If we go again, we could include like so the agreement is not in front of us. The agreement wasn't created yet. So once I vote here, I don't see the agreement. Simply like the mayor and the administration, we will take into consideration. We can include something like disregard if there's not developed. Can we or will we? We will. Okay, thank you. So the agreement, Jonathan will work, is already working with the development at this level. So it's a direct contact with them. So it's a condition like that we could include. And I agree. I agree with you, like we have to look also how we purchase that parcel of land, and at one point it might have been a future project, like there would be a residential subdivision, like a single family dwelling, but today it's a different project because the owner of the landowner wants to do something else, but the land for a public street, well, we do not need it for a public street, but if that parcel of land can be used like for a multi-residential development, is something that we should be looking at. To agree, yes, if we purchase or sell some land, maybe we should look more into the future use. Like, but your request has been noted. Thank you. Question, Councilor Paul Boudreau, like to sell like the land for, is it mandatory for this type of development? Yes. Essentially, yes. Because the land divide like the two other parcel of land that belongs to the developer. So that's it. It's also to be compliant to the different regulations, the municipal plan for the parking requirement to make it sustainable. If it wasn't like, if we wanted to use it like for as a park or public use, so if you have, it might be interesting, but if it's mandatory like for the development, because the land is a long, if you want a park, that's not how it would be designed. Thank you, Jonathan. On this note, all in favor saying aye, against nay. It's been carried. Thank you. Question. During the evening, I see employees that were here like all day, all evening. And many like paragraphs we went through, like it did not concern them. So why do they have to stay? It's something our CEO might be able to answer. It's something they will look at. Very good observation, and I will be honest with you, but I'm trying less or less to include them if there's no item on the agenda that concern them. But if there are specific questions they have to answer, I know, like, I can answer a lot of questions, but I cannot answer all of them. In the context, well, there's two individuals, like from municipal operations, or we have a new employee, and we want to introduce more to practice in front of you, maybe to talk, to see what are the discussion. But the other individuals, they had the specific files, like to present this evening. And LRL contact and the recreation center, we thought there might be any questions, so that's why they were invited. If they have no files to discuss, we'll try not to make them attend the meeting. That's what I'm thinking. So once they're done with their file, they have nothing after. They could leave. They were more here for LRL than anything else. 16, I have no nomination committee, so there's some coming up, but in a very near future. Next meeting will be August 18, 2025, next regular meeting. I need someone to move the adjournment of the meeting. Yeah, committee nomination. Councillor Cormier, I've not finished. You said you would do it. Said I wanted to do, that's my intention. If we had the last 2 weeks I had, so I wish you a great evening. Thank you.